What is truly unfolding behind the scenes of Hollywood as transformations happen so rapidly they blur the line of recognition? In a remarkably short span, numerous public figures have evolved in ways that ignite curiosity and widespread discussion. Yet the real question remains, are these shifts driven by personal discipline, industry expectations, or deeper influences that often go unspoken? If you've been searching for clarity beyond the surface, this video offers a thoughtful exploration, piecing together perspectives that are rarely highlighted and shedding light on aspects many overlook. Watch until the end, as you're about to uncover some of the most talked-about transformations of 2026, along with an insight that may reshape the way you interpret them entirely. Ariana Grande has long been recognized for her petite frame and delicate presence, qualities that have shaped her public image since the earliest stages of her career. Even so, in recent months, new photos and appearances have sparked a wave of concern among audiences worldwide. While she has always maintained a naturally slight build, some observers feel her current look carries a more fragile impression compared to earlier years, prompting ongoing conversation and reflection. Commentators often point to her slender arms, more tapered frame, and increasingly defined facial structure as indications of a visible shift. When placed alongside images from earlier phases of her career, the contrast has been noticeable enough to sustain ongoing conversation across online spaces. What stands out, however, is not just the change itself, but the tone surrounding it. Rather than casual observation or critique, many viewers, especially longtime supporters of Ariana Grande, have expressed a sense of sincere concern, reflecting a more thoughtful and empathetic response. Questions about her well-being have surfaced repeatedly, with some wondering whether the demands of recording, touring, and filming projects like Wicked, combined with constant public visibility, may be placing unseen pressure on her. At the same time, it's important to approach such observations with care and awareness. Ariana Grande herself has responded to discussions about her appearance, reminding audiences that outward perception can often be misleading and that well-being is far more layered and complex than what can be judged from a distance. Still, wider conversations within the entertainment industry about rapid physical changes often associated, fairly or not, with medications like Ozempic have shaped how audiences interpret what they see. Even without confirmed information, some have drawn tentative connections, reflecting how quickly narratives can form in a highly visible environment. For many longtime supporters of Ariana Grande, however, the response has been grounded less in judgment and more in genuine care, with a shared hope that she continues to feel balanced, supported, and well. Christina Aguilera has long been recognized as one of the defining vocal talents of her era. Beyond her extraordinary range, she cultivated a deep connection with audiences through a stage presence that blended confidence, expressive identity, and emotional depth in a way that felt both genuine and enduring. Over time, that image became an essential part of how admirers related to and appreciated her artistry. In more recent appearances, however, her return to the spotlight has reignited thoughtful public discussion, inviting audiences to reflect not only on change itself, but on how perception, expectation, and personal evolution intersect in the world of entertainment. Many observers have pointed out that she appears noticeably more refined, with some suggesting her current look echoes an earlier chapter of her career. While shifts in physical appearance are a natural part of life, especially in the spotlight, the speed and visibility of this transformation have sparked heightened curiosity. Features once associated with softness now present a more defined structure, leading longtime followers to reflect on how her overall image has transitioned over time. In many ways, these observations go beyond appearance alone, opening a broader conversation about reinvention, perception, and the ever-changing narrative of public identity. Reactions have been notably varied. Some interpret her transformation as a personal and empowering evolution, while others relate it to wider conversations surrounding rapid physical changes in the entertainment world, often linked in public discourse to emerging medical trends, including medications such as Ozempic. It is important to emphasize that Christina Aguilera has not publicly confirmed using any such approach. For many longtime followers, the discussion ultimately reaches beyond appearance, touching on deeper themes of identity, self-direction, and how public narratives are shaped over time. It opens the door to deeper reflections on evolving beauty, ideals, authenticity, and the quiet expectations placed on public figures to continuously adapt and appear timeless. In today's entertainment landscape, image is often shaped not only by personal expression but also by shifting professional standards, where reinvention becomes part of the narrative. This dynamic invites thoughtful consideration about the balance between individuality and expectation, and what it may truly require to remain visible and valued within an ever-changing industry. Kelly Clarkson has long been recognized not only for her powerful voice, but also for her openness, especially when discussing topics like body image, self-acceptance, and the natural changes that come with time. That honesty has earned her lasting respect, particularly among audiences who appreciate authenticity in an industry often shaped by carefully curated perfection. Recently, however, the conversation surrounding her appearance has begun to shift, taking on a more reflective and complex tone that goes beyond surface-level observation. Over what appears to be a relatively short period while continuing to host The Kelly Clarkson Show and maintain a demanding professional pace, Kelly Clarkson seems noticeably more streamlined in appearance. Viewers have observed that her overall silhouette looks more refined, with facial features appearing more defined than many recall. The shift has been striking enough to generate widespread conversation. Part of the curiosity also comes from the timing, as such visible changes unfolding alongside an active schedule naturally invite closer attention and reflection. Her transformation arrives at a time when similar changes across the entertainment world are often rightly or not associated with medications like Ozempic, originally developed to support diabetes management. While public speculation can quickly outpace verified information, Kelly Clarkson has generally framed her journey in more balanced and grounded terms, highlighting shifts in daily habits, overall well-being, and a sense of increased strength rather than pointing to any single defining factor. For many longtime fans, especially those who have followed her journey since her breakout on American Idol, the conversation is less about speculation and more about perspective. Kelly Clarkson continues to project confidence and a sense of ease that resonates with her audience. At the same time, the pace of her visible transformation highlights how closely public figures are observed and how quickly narratives can take shape around personal change, often reflecting broader societal viewpoints as much as individual realities. Meghan Trainor has long been associated with an image grounded in confidence, humor, and a message of self-acceptance. For many listeners, especially those who remember the cultural impact of All About That Bass, she represented a different kind of pop figure, one who gently pushed against narrow ideals while still embracing style, energy, and a sense of fun. That legacy is part of why her more recent transformation has drawn such widespread attention, sparking curiosity and renewed conversation about how public identity can evolve over time. In recent appearances, Meghan Trainor has appeared noticeably more streamlined, with a leaner silhouette and more defined facial features than many fans remember. As with many public figures, this visible shift has generated a wide spectrum of reactions ranging from admiration to surprise, and at times critical discussion. What makes her situation distinct, however, is her openness about her health journey. She has spoken publicly about making intentional lifestyle changes after pregnancy, including working with a dietitian, incorporating regular exercise, and prioritizing long-term wellness habits. Her perspective has helped frame the conversation in a more grounded way, focusing less on speculation and more on personal well-being and sustainable change over time. She has also spoken about various aspects of her health journey, and in broader online discussion, her name has sometimes been mentioned alongside medications such as Mounjaro and Ozempic, reflecting the wider public conversation around weight management in entertainment. However, these associations largely stem from speculation and media interpretation, rather than confirmed personal detail. Throughout her public statements, Meghan Trainor has consistently framed her transformation in terms of health, strength, and long-term well-being, emphasizing a desire to feel energized and present in her daily life and family, rather than pursuing any narrow or idealized image. For longtime followers, the reaction to her appearance reflects a recurring contradiction in public perception. When well-known figures appear fuller, they may face criticism, yet when they appear slimmer, they can encounter an entirely different wave of scrutiny. In that sense, Meghan Trainor's experience becomes less about physical change alone, and more about how rapidly collective opinion can shift in response to visible transformation. It also highlights a broader dynamic in modern media culture, where personal evolution is often interpreted through external expectations, even when the individual involved emphasizes feeling healthier, more balanced, and more content than before. Lana Del Rey has undergone a noticeable evolution over the years, not only in her sound and artistic identity, but also in her overall public image. At different stages of her career, she was often associated with a fuller, more natural silhouette, an aspect many fans connected with her sense of individuality in a space frequently defined by rigid visual expectations. More recently, observers have remarked that she appears visibly more streamlined, with the shift seeming to occur within a relatively short time frame. As with many public figures, this kind of change tends to generate discussion, not only about appearance itself, but also about how artistic eras, personal growth, and public perception often intersect in complex and rapidly evolving ways. The shift has been noticeable enough to spark widespread discussion, especially among longtime followers of Lana Del Rey. In more recent images, her facial features, once perceived as softer and more rounded, now appear more defined, contributing to the sense that her overall aesthetic has evolved significantly. As often happens with highly visible public figures, the pace of perceived change has encouraged speculation in online spaces. However, interpretations vary widely, and such observations are ultimately based on external perception rather than confirmed context. In many cases, discussions like these reflect not only interest in the individual, but also the broader tendency of audiences to analyze and interpret change through a highly scrutinized public lens. Instead, some online discussions place it within a broader entertainment industry narrative, where visible physical changes are often rightly or wrongly associated with medications such as Ozempic, which have become part of wider public discourse. However, it is important to note that Lana Del Rey has not confirmed any specific explanation for changes in her appearance. For many longtime listeners, particularly those who have followed her since early releases like Born to Die, the conversation tends to be framed less around certainty and more around curiosity and concern. Ultimately, it reflects how deeply audiences connect with artists over time and how visible change can invite a wide range of interpretations in the public eye. While her artistic identity continues to resonate strongly with audiences, her evolving public image has also become part of a wider conversation about health, representation, and the pressures often placed on those in the spotlight. In that sense, the discussion is no longer limited to any single individual, but instead reflects broader cultural expectations around visibility, change, and how public figures are interpreted as they move through different phases of their careers. Sharon Osbourne stands out in this broader conversation as one of the public figures who has openly discussed using Ozempic as part of her weight management journey. Unlike many who choose to keep such details private, she has spoken candidly about her experience, including the noticeable speed of change and the mixed challenges that accompanied it. Her openness has added another layer to the ongoing public discussion around rapid physical transformation in the entertainment world, where personal health choices, public perception, and media interpretation often intersect in complex and highly visible ways. In interviews, Sharon Osbourne has described losing a significant amount of weight over a relatively short period. At first, the results appeared to align with what many in the public eye often pursue: rapid, visible change. However, according to her own accounts, the experience eventually extended beyond her expectations. She later shared that the transformation became more intense than intended, leading her to feel that she had crossed a personal threshold that prompted reflection and reassessment of her overall well-being. Observers have also commented on visible changes in her appearance, particularly in facial structure, which at times appeared more drawn and less full than in earlier years. More importantly, Sharon Osbourne has spoken openly about the physical strain she experienced during the process, highlighting that rapid change can come with unexpected challenges. She has reflected on the difficulty of restoring equilibrium afterward, emphasizing that transformations perceived as quick or effortless from the outside can, in reality, involve complex physical and emotional adjustments that are not always immediately visible to the public. Her experience has contributed an additional perspective to the expanding public conversation around medically assisted weight management, particularly as medications such as Ozempic have become more widely discussed in celebrity culture. For many viewers, especially those who value directness and lived experience, Sharon Osbourne's reflections are often interpreted less as a simple success story and more as a nuanced reminder of the complexities that can accompany rapid physical change. While every individual's health journey is deeply personal, her openness has helped frame the conversation in a more reflective way, encouraging audiences to consider such choices with greater awareness, balance, and attention to long-term well-being. Jessica Simpson has spent much of her life in the public eye, and over the years, her appearance, body, and personal choices have often been subject to intense scrutiny. From her early rise in music to her later success in building a fashion and retail empire through the Jessica Simpson collection, many shifts in her life and image have been widely observed and discussed. In more recent appearances, she has appeared noticeably more streamlined than many longtime followers recall, prompting renewed attention and conversation among audiences who have followed her career across different eras. Observers have noted that her overall frame appears more slender, while her facial features, once perceived as softer and more rounded, now appear more defined in recent appearances of Jessica Simpson. For some viewers, the shift has felt more pronounced than what they might typically associate with gradual lifestyle changes, prompting a range of interpretations across online discussions. In that context, conversations have sometimes used phrases like Hollywood thin to describe a perceived standard of extreme leanness often associated with the entertainment industry. Still, such commentary largely reflects public perception rather than confirmed explanation, and it highlights how quickly visible changes in a high-profile figure can become part of broader cultural debate and interpretation. Side-by-side comparisons of past and present images have only amplified those impressions for some viewers. For longtime followers, particularly older audiences who have followed her through different phases of fame, the contrast can feel especially noticeable, reflecting how memory and familiarity shape perception over time in the public eye around Jessica Simpson. At the same time, it is important to approach such observations with care and context. She has previously spoken about her health journey, including changes after pregnancy, and her efforts to prioritize balance in her daily life. These personal reflections add nuance to the discussion, even as broader entertainment industry conversations increasingly influence how visible transformations are interpreted, sometimes linking them fairly or not to medications, such as Ozempic. Some observers have made similar assumptions, despite the absence of confirmed information. While reactions continue to vary widely, many also recognize that outward appearance rarely captures the full complexity of a person's lived experience. In highly visible careers, perceptions can form quickly and spread widely, often based on incomplete context rather than verified detail. In that sense, discussions surrounding figures like Jessica Simpson reflect a broader pattern in public culture, where interpretation can move faster than clarity, and where visible change often becomes a canvas for wider assumptions and narratives that extend beyond the individual themselves. Across the stories of Christina Aguilera, Kelly Clarkson, Ariana Grande, Meghan Trainor, Lana Del Rey, Sharon Osbourne, and Jessica Simpson, one pattern becomes increasingly clear. Transformation in the public eye is never solely about appearance. Each journey reflects a shifting interplay between personal decisions, evolving life stages, and the constant expectations of an industry that never remains still for long. While speculation often fills the spaces between visible moments, the underlying reality is far more layered than what can be captured on the surface. In the end, these stories highlight not just change itself, but the way audiences interpret change, shaped as much by culture and perception as by the individuals living it. For longtime audiences, especially those who have followed these public figures over many years, the conversation is often less about judgment and more about perspective. Beyond shifting trends and headlines, what stands out most is the importance of health, stability, and the freedom for each individual to define their own path on their own terms. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more upcoming content. See you in the next one.